Welcome back. Time now for the news review. And don't you forget, the AM show is proudly sponsored by Waylead Properties. Let me ask you, are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? I have an option. Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such an investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit right here in Accra. So I'm inviting you to invest in our new development, Willow Lane, where elegance meets tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and also with a flexible payment option. At Waylead Properties, we provide you with 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay memorable. Give us a call now on 0240-111-119 or 0504-499-999. You can also check us out at www.waylead.org. Joining the conversation right here in the studios, we have Amanda Akwoko Clinton, Head of Chambers, Clinton Consultancy. Alfred Thompson is with the MPP's Communications Directorate, and we have Wanda Madilo. He's with the NDC's Communications team. Lady, gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I would ask that while I know we want to espouse our thoughts, I know we also want to talk about all the things here. So brief thoughts, and let's be able to digest all of them. I'll start with you, Amanda. What are your quick thoughts for us this morning?
Just the shooting in Upper East region, of 2 police officers is quite shocking. But unfortunately, it's becoming quite normal, not of officers, but with people using guns. And I just think that, gun crime is increasing in Ghana, and we really perhaps have to introduce tougher sentencing and maybe expediting the process in courts for anybody who holds a gun, because it is not our culture and we shouldn't allow it to be.
You say expedite the process in court for anyone who holds a gun?
Yes, I really think so. In terms of it is a quick sentence, like the case is heard immediately and the facts are espoused and the person gets sentenced immediately, because my only concern is about anyone who holds a gun. There are those those who shoot with a gun, for instance, because it escalates any situation, and that's why most of our officers don't carry guns, in general, because anytime somebody is holding a gun, it can escalate to more crime. So I think it's something the government should look at in terms of tracking the imports, regularizing with, I think CID has a department, for registering guns, etc., and ensuring that there's tougher sentences so people don't take this as a normality.
All right. Alfred?
Yeah, I would like to just touch on the base of the hikes in electricity, especially the 14.75%. I feel it's a killer hike. We should tread cautiously, because at the moment, wages was just increased by about 10%. And when you start with electricity, every other thing goes up. Commodities, everything goes up. So going on this tangent won't help us. What we need to do is to rather seal the holes within the basket and make sure that at the end of it all, we are able to get accountability for what is being produced and what is being used, and the thefts going on over there. That is what could help us. But on the whole, I feel that government should take a second look at it. It's too early to start at 14%. If it's a little above 2-3%, yes, but to go straight to 14% for electricity is quite high, and water is about 4% or so. It would affect everybody, and I think times are not that rosy for now for government to just start this way. So we leave it for the presidents to have a look at it and see what best he can do to at least stagger it a bit before this high first premium just going straight up.
I've been hearing this term stagger in recent times. Since you've used it, what does it mean? Stagger it a bit. What does that mean?
Just spread it actually.
Spread it.
Yeah, spread.
That's
I'm not saying that as a stagger, but
okay.
Maybe just to break it into bits and pieces.
Okay.
Not a one straight 14%.
All right. It's not a silver bullet. What I just wanted to ask, I'll not ask you how many times in the past, how many years we had increments, not relevant as of now. The business community is complaining about these increments because, of course, they'll feel the shock and they say they want to translate it to us. I just want to mention as well, the PRC does not increase it because it feels like increasing it.
Yeah.
It's largely independent.
Agreed.
It increases it based on certain metrics. And we know of the problem with ECG.
One of the metrics
part of solving the problem
was the USD.
Right.
And I don't think the USD there has been a drastic change for it to get to 14%. One of the this thing they used was the foreign exchange.
Right.
And the foreign exchange has not changed drastically. So they should look at it and reconsider.
All right, thank you. Wanda, quick thoughts.
So
if you decide to go there, that means your time is running on your thoughts.
No. So I'm saying,
or you can spread it.
I want to talk about electricity in general. So starting from where he left it off, yes, foreign exchange is partially or part of the reason why PRC would do some adjustments, but it's not an isolation. For instance, price of crude could change. However, our CD to dollar hasn't changed, especially. So if you're buying light crude to power your generation plants like Sonoa, Sogli, T2P, all the others, the thermal plant, including even VRA and all the others, certainly that can also account for an increase. We are all aware of the inefficiencies within the ECG system that makes them make so much losses. And so these are all gamut of issues that we would have to look at as a country. How do we collect our revenues? How do we make sure that these revenues collected go into the right source, the right funding, to plug the gaps and all that. And so indeed it's important that you would get to that level. So I think that the ECG as a body itself by now is going through some research, and probably very soon we should have an end to these increases that are only or sometimes founded on the inefficiencies of the ECG. I indeed believe that with time some of these things will be ironed out, and then we can all be in a better place to comment on these issues.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start with the papers now. I want to start with Amanda. Which paper do you have this morning?
I've got the Custodian. And the two headlines I saw which were quite good is the World Bank Group pledges support.
Can you give us the headlines in general?
Okay, sure.
So before you go to the ones you want to address.
Of course.
So, I mean, the main page.
Yes.
Just give us the overall headlines before we go to the ones.
Cleaning Ghana, creating jobs, the Zoom Lions story. The minority tasks Mahama to end the Bawku conflict. And those are the main headlines on the front page. And I thought I would rather focus on World Bank Group pledges support for key sectors because, the economy and growth is something I think Ghanaians are all focused on. And the managing director of the World Bank noted that the World Bank has significant experience in agriculture transformation and was well positioned to assist Ghana to evolve the agriculture sector as well as the energy sector. And he also proposed the establishment of a World Bank regional hub in Ghana to enhance collaboration and facilitate timely implementation of development projects. So hopefully that will bring in a lot of money, but not debt, to Ghana. The other headline, that I saw was that Nigeria bans airing of song that criticizes the president. And so in a letter to TV and radio stations, the National Broadcast Commission issued licenses which issues licenses and regulations to the industry, ordered that a particular track not be played, saying that it violates the country's broadcast code. And the song is called Tell Your Papa, which criticizes the country's leader. And just the third headline is the Tanzanian main opposition party has been banned from election because I think the leading party has been governing Tanzania for over 5 decades. So that's about it.
All right. And so those are all the stories you're doing from your paper? It's
a very short
I see.
paper.
Are there any other headlines in there that you did not look at?
Of course, the conflict in Bawku is a big deal. And the minority tasked Mahama to end the conflict. According to the minority, the current efforts by government have fallen short of restoring peace and stability in the area. And the caucus has therefore underscored the need for more robust and strategic measures to end the violence and ensure lasting peace, just because of insecurity in the area. But I think it's something that does take time. So hopefully that will be resolved under this administration.
Well, I don't know, gentlemen, whether you have any reflections on the story she's taken. For me, the incident in Bawku, and you know, that was on the outskirts of what used to be larger Bawku, back then in Binduri. There was that sad incident of someone also being gunned down yesterday, and then, you know, burnt together with his motorbike. Any reflections on those developments? I
believe yesterday we had the killing of 2 police officers over there, and it's quite worrying, especially in the week where IGP went there for a 3-day peace tour, and went to even promise the youth jobs as soon as they put their weapons down. And everyone, there was a public uproar because we felt that in negotiations, you should be very careful of some of the things you even go and promise. It could cause more problems than good. And also with the rising political words that went on during the 2028 campaign, it caused a lot of problems because you don't know why all of a sudden the youth in Bawku will start or will decide to now cause more harm and everything. And everybody is calling on the president to quickly do something, whether to talk to them, go there, do something that at least will bring the tension down a bit. Because according to him, he says that, it's only under NDC that you get peace in Bawku, and any other government, especially when the MPP is in power, there's always conflict in Bawku. And all these came up after that. And so we call on all political, especially we call on all political parties that, listen, when there's tension at certain places, we are very mindful of certain things we say over there, which could later on come to haunt us. And
I mean, very gory images that we saw yesterday, the killing of the police officers and also that of the man who was burnt. I mean, it's beyond.
Imagine.
I struggle to even kill an ant unless they really become pests and they are disturbing me. So imagine a human being literally roasting, and the others that we saw. But Alfred, you made a point, and I'll throw it to the rest of our guests. We often talk about the political will, but how about the communal will, the will of the community? I think oftentimes it's because if you look at the IGP's visit, at the end, did you notice what happened? He was hooted at.
Yeah.
Okay?
When
he went there talking about forgive us. And I mean, it's not as though the police were solely to blame, but he went there saying forgive us and all of that. Very Pacific. In the end, they hooted him as he was.
And I think they even shot at his car or something because they were showing wonders then.
So
previously, we've had situations where even when I think President Kufuor went there, he was water bombed, more or less, thrown, these sachet waters. And it's becoming one too often. We need to really, really, really guard our utterances. You
can't solve a problem only from the top. Wonder.
So from 1721 was when Bawku was founded. And from 1721 all the way to 1957, one particular group, the 2 factions, one particular group actually ruled Bawku, chieftaincy-wise or traditional-wise. After 57, the demarcations, the political, demarcations, as you call it, and then the rise to power by either of the parties actually have not helped the issues. I will propose a more radical approach in dealing with some of these issues. I'm pretty sure that in other advanced countries, when you have some of these issues, one of the ways to handle it is to talk about relocation. If we say relocation, we are not saying that sack the people from the constituency, from the district or from the region or anything of the sort. But if the issue has to do with boundaries, and we're fighting this for many years now,
decades,
and we're losing a lot in terms of financing that whole conflict. And when I say financing the conflict, financing the conflict management. You have police permanently in the area, you have military permanently in the area, sometimes you have helicopters flying over, and all these are costs to the state. People are being paid for all that job. I think that we need to quantify how much we have spent as a state so far in managing this conflict that has got virtually no tangible results, and sometimes it looks as if it's dying down, then it comes up again and all that. I know that the eminent chiefs, group headed by our own Santahini should be doing something in this regard. But you see, there comes a point in time where it is not only about how the other party feels or doesn't feel. I think that the state must begin to put its feet down on these matters. The state must begin to bite the bullet on these matters, and we need to take very drastic steps in resolving the issues. I understand that the IGP was very, engageful in his dealings with them and all that, but lives are being lost. We're told that hundreds of lives have been lost since the conflict started. And, these are lives that are likely to be people's breadwinners and, hopes that are dashed, families that are, in pain and in anguish and all that. And so a certain level of control in managing these issues would help. I remember I've driven through Bawku several times, and of course, many of the times that I passed there, it was relatively peaceful, so there were no issues. So when I hear and the allocation is mentioned as to where something has happened, I'm asking myself, hey, so, and they don't have so many roads, to go to the next village or hamlet or anything. It's just one way going through, the town, the settlement and all that. So when you are waylaid or you are ambushed, it's very, very difficult. There's no other way. You are either returning or you take the bullet and all that. So indeed, there are many other ways to resolve this issue. It's to take a more holistic approach, to also take a development approach. For instance, if, like I said, if the boundary is the issue, how do we adjust the boundaries and set new standards?
Right there, just so I can go to the other guests. You've mentioned two critical points. I want you to tell me exactly what you mean.
Which one?
You say the state should stamp its authority.
Yeah.
When you say stamp its authority, what do you mean? And secondly, you've also spoken about relocation. I know of certain things from other jurisdictions and how they managed to stop some of these things. What do you mean by these two?
Well, so number one, relocation. There are sometimes fights over a certain parcel of land. Deny everybody the chance, period.
So make it no man's land.
Yeah, it's a no man's land.
Where do the settlers go? Do you spread them across? I'm asking you specifically because, like I said, I know of other jurisdictions and what they've done. What do you do?
So some of those places can be taken over by the state. So it's a no man's land. There's no fight over it any longer. The state has acquired that tract of land, and it's
so the Kusasis and the Mampusis, where do we place them?
No, so the difficulty is when you say, where do we place them? Because once government has taken over that place, then the others will have to relocate it. Bawku has a large tract of land. Large tracts of land, arable land, lands for farming and all that. And so you can always find a way of relocating. When you are relocating, you provide them with livelihoods, you provide them with what will make them comfortable wherever they are going, and this other side on the other side. Then you take the buffer zone.
So if I understand you correctly, then it also creates, that's what I want you to get to. It creates a certain space in the middle. Yeah. It also gives them some separation so that they're much farther apart.
Exactly.
That's what you're
saying. Right. If that would solve the problem, exactly. Right. I do believe that.
Stamp its authority, what do you mean?
Stamp its authority is, it comes together. If I decide to take up that land and then that becomes the government property, nobody goes on it. It's part of stamping authority. And then you can manage the security situation. For instance, if people, go foul with the law, they should be able to be apprehended.
I've got your point. I've got the thrust of the argument. Amanda.
I completely agree with Wanda in terms of it's a holistic approach that is needed as well as boundary control. But it would be interesting to see if, government's compulsory acquisition of certain lands, will work, or if it will lead to more conflict, but hopefully not, because it's, it's land that is, people are fighting over that can perhaps be compulsorily acquired. But in relation to the IGP, my paper also says that the Upper East Regional Minister did comment on that, and according to him, the residents were displeased with his remarks during the visit, particularly to offer special police recruitment as a condition for laying down arms, because what they seek is an end of the war and permanence of peace. So if everybody is seeking peace, perhaps peace comes from within, and it is for those residents to really decide that they want peace in order for government to help, because I think government can only do a certain amount, and sometimes it does take a bit of an effort, but they have to decide that they truly want peace and they're going to give themselves peace collectively. But I really do like that idea of a compulsory, government acquiring certain lands, and not too much, but enough to create a more peaceful environment.
The people must give peace a chance, and you're using the legal terminology there. Maybe a compulsory acquisition of the land, which the state has the powers to do, to ensure that they are farther apart and they relocate. Let's get into your paper.
Okay. I'm reading the Ghanaian publisher, and it says Bawku conflict, Hans Mahama, minority demands urgent action. Then we have MP slams government over tariff hikes. Then we have 32.5 billion Ghana cedis debt saved cocoa sector, Boahene Edu. But there are other ones within that we could also talk about. These are the same from the front. Bargaining peace with jobs is a dangerous precedent. That is the editorial, talking about the IGP bargaining the peace of Bawku with jobs for the youth there. They are saying that it's not good for a situation like that, and we should be careful how we bargain for peace. And government criticized overkiller electricity and water tariffs. That's the same as the front page. World Bank Group MD pledges support for key sectors. Then we have police arrest leader of car rental theft syndicates. We also have Mahama pledges full support for National Defense University. Educational Minister, that is Honorable Haruna Idrisu, pledges to present scholarship bill to Parliament. Okaipwe Central Youth petition Mahama for MCE appointment. Nominate Rashid Issa or risk party fallout. And then this one says MPs can't hide behind parliamentary immunity after making false claims. Agaga on attempted arrest of Intim Fojo. NSA staff condemn political interference in recruitment and transfers within NSA, National Service Authority. Mahama launches Feed Ghana program to boost national food security. And then last but not the least, we'll say TDC reverses appointments and promotions at TDC. That is Tema Development Company.
Any thoughts, especially with the TDC, and you remember the new management talking about is it over $1 million that can't be accounted for, and all of that. I know all of these feed into, this morning we were talking about affordable housing and all of that, and you know how this has helped, especially in the Tema enclave. And you are in the Tema enclave. What's your take on that?
With the $1 million, I wonder why up till now we haven't been able to touch on the corporates, because it started in 2012 when award was given for someone to supply IT infrastructure to TDC. So if it's not been done, I wonder since 2012 to date, what has gone wrong? But
it did not come in 2012. What had been said, it came in recent years. It did not, the procurement was not done in 2012.
The $1 million procurement was started in 2012.
Was it paid in 2012?
Those are other details we can verify.
Because as far as I know, no payments were made around that.
2012 to 2016 is a long time. You can still verify.
I'm just specifying that in 2012, as far as I know, no procurement.
And since no payment. What I'm saying is that it was started previously. So if there is a wrongdoing, let's look into it. And if it's from 2012, why up till now, nothing has been able to be done? Nothing is done about it. That is where I have a problem. Because 2012 to 2025 now, it's a long haul, almost, it's over 10 years since, or 13 years since this thing was awarded. So what went wrong? Why is the IT not fixed? And why have you done payments where we don't know about it? These are things that we should ask.
Is it of interest to you as well that between 2017 and 2024, this was not looked at either, since we're going back?
Yeah, I said since that time till now, 13 years down the line, what's happening? We can't just be paying things out or awarding contracts, and people will sit down and do what they want. It shouldn't happen, because whatever goes on, whether in my government or in the NDC government or in any other government, it affects the whole Ghana. It's Ghanaians who suffer. It's the ordinary man who suffers. And these are things that we should look into and ask questions and let people be punished for wrongdoing.
Right. Any other story you'd like to reflect on?
I've already talked about the Bawku and the electricity tariffs. What I might talk about is also at TDC and at NSA, the recruitment and political interference in recruitments and transfers and demotions and everything that has gone on. It's like it's a widespread thing going on in the country now. If you are not careful, it will get to a time any government who comes into power will start reversing the last 4 years of every recruitment or every promotion that has been done. Because it will say that it wasn't done under my government and it's going to affect the country. If that has been done, what is the way forward? What am I also doing to also recruit people into the system or to create jobs for people to work? If someone has been promoted, on what merit? You don't just go and say that, oh, because it was done by a previous, my predecessor, I've reversed it. It's not done anyway. And we should be careful how we want to treat corporate governance and carry things out. Because there's a board in place. In fact, on certain levels, mostly from directors or GMs and above, any promotion should be approved by the board. So if you are saying that the board hasn't got that authority to do that promotion or bring someone on a GM level, then we have a problem. One person cannot decide, and even an acting person cannot decide that I have reversed it, because a board of proper corporate governance jurisdiction has taken a decision. And so I feel that it wasn't done under my tenure, and I believe that it's rushed through. So I'm reversing it. And the number of dismissals and things going on, I don't think is good for the growth of this country. If you are going to create jobs, as we said, 133 or 113, whichever way they call it, they should let us see the jobs being created and people being put in places, not sacking people and bringing your people in and say that I've created so many jobs because I've sacked 100 people and I've brought in 120 people, so I've done well. I think we should go beyond that, and we should look at a country as a business that we need to grow and grow well.
All right.
So it doesn't affect
Amanda,
us.
so on that point, I want to take a brief reflection. From where I sit, he says it doesn't happen anywhere. Well, even in the US, Trump is bringing to bear some way, shape, or form of that, though Trump is an extreme example to use, I admit. But all I'm saying is that once you keep playing politics, both you, the MPP, and you, the NDC, with such things, will always get to this point. I thought it was beautiful. I think it's the Wild West MP, Peter Lanchini Tobu, who recently had an initiative going on. And he said, this is faceless in terms of we don't care who is. Once the person requires it, we let the person. We are not asking people who is NDC. He's an NDC MP. Who is MPP and this. And I feel if we gave that face to recruitment, it would be better. But you, the same political actors, you even MPs will be calling for, oh, I have my quota, I send these people to the police and all of that. Once we continue on that trajectory, these things will not stop. Amanda.
Corporate governance is really important, and I think the NDC and the NPP are just as bad as each other in terms of, when they do come into power, a lot of positions do change. And we have to look at it from a practical perspective. It's all the campaigning that goes on, because some people are bitter, very bitter right now, saying, why haven't we laid down our lives for the party? Why haven't we still got a job? And, the party's sort of trying to look for jobs for people who are very qualified as well. So that is the practicality of it. But the only way this can be resolved, I think, is by passing a law or an act about all the bodies or all the boards that are not allowed to at will do something like that, because it is not an NDC only or an NPP only problem. It's something that happens for a very practical reason. The campaigning for a start, and there are juicy contracts in some of these roles, which can be redistributed, etc. But we could go on.
Play politics, and incidentally, party people will always usually get those slots.
Yes,
see what I mean?
Yes, but I'm not criticizing that per se, because it's human nature and it is African politics and African nature. But if we do really want to stop it, the only way to do that is with a bill and a vote, etc. But competent people are always voted in one way or the other, be it NDC or NPP, I think. But it can't change every 4 years. So the buck has to stop somewhere, I think.
All right. Wanda, unless you have a few reflections which you can give us quickly before you get into it.
Well, one has to do with this. I think it was a bit disingenuous when he said that the 1 million thing started from 2012. That's not true. The MD was very clear in his mind. He talked about the sale of lands belonging to TDC. He talked about 45,000 Ghana cedis that were used to wash curtains in the residence of the MD outgone, Ofoyata. And then he talked about the 1 million procurement breaches. So please, let's be straight in our mind on that respect. That said, let me go ahead.
Exactly when, since you say he mentioned 2012, do you know exactly when he's talking about? Let's take about away the washing of curtains for 45,000 and all that.
Yeah.
The $1 million. Do you know exactly when? He is saying 2012, and I said that it is not 2012. That's not when it started. But you know exactly when?
No, I don't know exactly when.
So,
but
hold on.
Hold on. Looking at what the MD said, if you look at it in entirety, he's not talking about 20 years ago or 5 years ago. He's talking about recent happenings, and he stated it clearly that have just entered my office and I've seen a lot of breaches, and these are the breaches. Now, even if he talks about 2012, how many mayors have we, MDs have we had since 2012 till today? And then 2012, 2016, NDC left power.
I guess your point is made. That would be a long trail to follow.
Yeah. So let's get into the
two MDs today.
MTA Heroes of Change.
Season 7.
Season 7 showcases Ghanaians transforming communities.
So that's the News Center newspaper, right?
Yeah. I'm particularly happy about this because just last week they had some arrangements where a young person is asked to act as the CEO in order to pass on knowledge on a smart phone assembly holds golden promise for Ghana. And then Margins ID Group sweeps top awards at FEFG Corporate Finance and Order. Now, and this is the one that blows my mind. Feed Ghana launched to boost national food productivity.
How come you're skipping the headline on ECG?
It talks about electricity hike.
I didn't see that one.
So read what it says. What does it say?
No, the ECG one?
Yes.
No, it says electricity hike in 16 years.
It says electricity, 352% hike
See, the paper was,
in 16 years.
The paper was very disingenuous with it. You read the story, but it was 14%.
In 16 years.
The story did not say. URC did not say.
Wisdom.
Go ahead. Wonder.
You are making me call you Wisdom.
Yes.
Wonder.
Yes.
Just give us what the headline says.
No, but I don't want to misinform my people.
No, you give us what the headline says, and then when you are discussing it,
electricity tariff, electricity, 352 hike in 16 years.
352%.
352% in 16 years. All right, now get into the stories.
Now, the one that excites me is the Feed Ghana program launched by His Excellency the President. And you know that agriculture boost and support is a major plank of the NDC manifesto. That also manifested in the budget statement and the State of the Nation's address. And a few things the President is bound to do, and which he has already kickstarted, is the Feed Ghana program. Where is the story? Story on page 8. The content of that program, one, we should support the growth of maize, rice, soybeans, sorghum, cassava, yam, and plantain. And that is going to be a major plank of it. Government is also trying to tackle the issue of palm oil production. We are all aware that in 2027, the world market value of palm oil will be about $65 billion globally. Ghana want to participate. Knowing our relationship with Malaysia, when they got independence, when we got independence, when we started, the land similarities and viability, we know that if palm oil is thriving very well in Malaysia, which has become the major backbone of the economy, Ghana can do same. We already even have both the oil, the palm, and then that of the coconut, and they're all in the palm family, and it does very well in this country. So government wants to take advantage of that. In that program, government also has a special initiative called the Yeridua, which will focus on producing reducing the country's dependence on vegetable imports by promoting the local cultivation of tomato, onions, pepper, and other vegetables. We're already doing something in that regard. Government wants to tackle and bring that up majorly. Urban and peri-urban agriculture, greenhouse farming, and backyard gardening will also be promoted. And in this respect, I know that we want to promote also school agriculture. Like I said before, many years ago when we were in school, we used to feed from our own poultry and our own farms and all that. I think that it's time we go back to some of these issues and see. Then another significant project under the program is the Nguko Kitikiti a poultry revitalization initiative that aims to reduce Ghana's poultry industry by improving breeding, feed production, and marketing. Ghana has relied so much solely on Brazil in the name of import of poultry products. That will help us if we can produce locally, and then to help lessen the burden on the foreign exchange and all that.
Right.
Thank you very much.
That's what you're focusing on. So let me see the headlines again. Okay, would you like to add the margins story just briefly?
Well,
we've already spoken about the ECG.
Yeah, because it's a bit of a private issue. I don't want to, and then when it comes to...
I know margins has been in the news as well for other things, so interesting developments there. Yeah. Any reactions, Amanda?
Just the food security, I think it's a big deal. I'm just reading a quote from the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku, who says that the new program will deliver lasting solutions to the country's food security challenges, reduce reliance on imports, and stabilize food prices. And as we all know, food prices are skyrocket right now in Ghana. And the minister emphasized that while the Planting for Food and Jobs initiatives had its impact, the Feed Ghana project is designed to be more comprehensive and sustainable. But I mean, for me, it's just driving the price down for food, because Lord knows how some people survive because it's so expensive and the amount they're earning, etc. So I think it's a really great initiative, and I really hope it does well.
Alfred?
I would ask for the parameters in which we should, at the end of the program, know that it's achieved its purpose or not. We've had situations where we have for the PFJ1, we had PFJ2, and when they finished, we really could not really assess and know whether it achieved the purpose in which we've invested so much. So when you are bringing this initiative, yes, every initiative that will help bring food prices down is good, but give us the parameters. But in 2 years, in 3 years, in a year's time, we should know that ABCD has been achieved, and everybody can sit down and assess and make sure that what we want to achieve is being done. So we don't get this repetition of getting names for every, season or government or minister that comes. He has his 1 and he has his 2 and he has his, this 3 or whatever it is. And we'll just go on and on and on, and we'll just be investing there without seeing concrete results. And we should be able to also make sure that if we want to see that we are getting small-scale farmers or corporate farmers put together and things, by maybe in the second year, when you go to Bono region, you should get 5 corporate farmers that have come together and they've now become large-scale commercial farmers. These are concrete things that you can measure the achievement of these things on, and these are things that we should know so we are able to judge them on some of these things.
All right. I think we need a lot more mechanized farming in Ghana, and government should be supporting on that trajectory. I do know Brian Champon was talking about some inputs before he left office, but way beyond that, agricultural inputs. I keep saying, when you go to the US, when you go to Brazil, for example, some of the biggest money makers there are farmers. They are the ones whose children are going to the Ivy League institutions, and I've lived there. I know what I'm telling you. Again, as you mechanize, then people can produce vast hectares. You can have one person doing so much, and then we can really get things together. I agree with you on the point that it appears every administration that comes will change a name. What's in the change of a name? But if you asked me, planting for food and jobs, rearing for food and jobs, on the back of some of what we saw. If you ask me how much was attained, looking at the billions we pumped into it versus what we saw, I wouldn't say much, because what's the cost of, goods, food products and all that. So maybe we also have to get to the point where we are saying in 2 years we hope to get here and all of that. I do agree with those standpoints. Let me quickly get into this paper and then it's a wrap. Economy Times. Government snubs high Treasury bill rate demands despite heavy debt refinancing needs. U.S. tariff war, African exporters react as AFTA gears up to subdue impact. And Bank of Ghana cautions commercial banks as they adjust lending rates. Now, starting with the first one. Last week, government faced the second major test of its recently introduced strategy of refusing tenders from investors for its Treasury bills, which exceed its target range of interest rates it is willing to pay them for their subscriptions. At last week's Treasury bill auction, investors only tendered 4,057,000 Ghana cedis, well below government's declared target of 6,678,000. So 6.678 million. This being their response to government for having used its severely dampened demand for Treasury securities financing to force interest rates payable of them down to 15.45%. Some people, of course, in the market are not happy about this development. But if you know anything between monetary policy and the economic policy as well, you would realize that some of these, if managed properly, can also boost the economy. And in the past administration, a lot of economists had said there was too much reliance on Treasury bills, bonds, and all of that. Then, don't worry, I'll just finish with them so that when I come to you, I take your reflections and we go. U.S. tariff war. African trade ministers are expected to meet through the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat to discuss the impact of the 10% tariff imposed on goods and services from Africa to the United States. And that's 10% for some. If you go to Lesotho, it's 90-something%. And so they will be meeting on that. Bank of Ghana cautions commercial banks as they adjust lending rates. And commercial banks operating in the country are being cautioned by the Bank of Ghana to be transparent and reasonable in adjusting their lending rates upwards in line with the monetary policy rate upward adjustment by 100 basis points a fortnight ago. At the most recent Monetary Policy Committee meeting held in the last week of March, the policy rate was increased to 28% from 27%. I'll take your reflections on these three, then I shall do these last two. GRA exceeds first quarter tax revenue target, and then Airtel Tigo debt. But first, on the first three bits, you were raring to go. Quick thoughts.
No, I wanted to make a special appeal to the president that he should, or we should refocus a Greek Development Bank. I think that one of the things we have missed, in the last few years is this business of ADB going commercial such that the core mandate, the core business for which they were put together was completely lost. They won't lend to farmers, they won't support farmer initiatives, they are busy in the market with all the other companies. I think, if you ask me, one of the ways to support this Feed Ghana program is to refocus ADB Bank back to agriculture, and then some of these things can be taken care of. Naturally follow their course. Because when these farmers, a lot of them will tell you, when they go to the banks will not lend to them. They will rather choose to put it into Treasury, or other bonds, because it's easy pickings for them. Okay. So refocus ADB, and then let's see how that supports the pressures on the farmers. Because many people are not able to do the mechanized, as you said, because it involves a lot of investment, money, funds. And this is not cheap funds on the streets. But if we have a bank that is dedicated to that cause, then you can even the bank can partly own some of this with them, and then it becomes an asset which the bank owns as well. They use it and they pay off for usage and all that. So indeed we need to realign ADB. Otherwise, what is the business of government having ADB, UMB, NIB, the Ghana Commercial Bank, and all the other? Then they are doing the same thing. What's the business? And I'll come to you, Alfred, and you know why. You were with the NIB. I think we sort of duplicate all of these. And I agree. Sometimes we've created this, that, and that, and that to do one thing. And oftentimes the work is still not done. Can you just share your thoughts on that?
Government cannot keep on funding the banks to do. When you look at the agri sector, if government is going to let ADB focus only on agri, it means that government should keep on funding them. Because when you go into agri, you realize that agri lending is not like 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 5 years. it's 15 years and above. And I don't see how a Greek bank will get money to fund long-term farming if you want people to really turn around. So the best thing to do a 60-40 approach. 60% of commercial banking, 40% of agri banking. So you get the money from the commercial and fund the agri sector on long-term basis. But on auditing the accounts, you should always make sure that you are seeing the 40% there. The problem that government is not taking care or looking at it very well is the percentage in which we are funding the agri sector. Is the 40% from agri bank really going into the farming? Yes or no? These are the things they need to check and make sure that it works. Right. But government cannot keep on funding banks like NID. It's an investment bank, but you can't send people on maybe the production industry and expect that government, the bank would have enough funding to keep on.
Okay, on that point, them. Just a quick thought. So, are you against the Women's Development Bank, the Women's Bank? The concept.
We need. You see, we can create avenues, but we need to really understand what we really want.
Okay, so it's not a bad thing.
Yes, but how we are going to go about it and what we are going to put into it, and how the bank itself, within the next few years, should be able to stand on its own and continue funding some of these things.
Fair point. Amanda.
Out of the three pieces you read, I think I'm more interested in the trade. You know,
but I actually wanted to talk about the tariffs, but you didn't. You just asked me. Okay.
When she's done,
okay. April 14th, ministers are meeting. Trade ministers are meeting, African trade ministers, and it's to bring together apparently policymakers, economists, trade experts, as you just said. But the Secretary of AFTA has said that it's a wake-up call for the continent, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It will give them or give us a chance to accelerate our own economic self-sufficiency. And I think it would be great if it's not just an excuse for trade ministers to go on a free trip, but to just really delve into how strategically, with all their knowledge, all their economic background, and all their novel ways of approaching this, can just look at the tariff as not something to fight against, but something to build internally. And just getting back to that food security issue that we were talking about earlier, I also thought, I've always thought that it would be nice if government did like a nice signature move, like 1 CD for Kenke, and find a way of subsidizing it and things like that. So I think that would be a good way.
You're talking of government regulating prices?
Oh, not regulating prices, but at least
control?
Not price control, but it would, because everybody goes on about how expensive Kenke is. And so to find a way of still letting farmers work and do something, but Kenke in Ghana is 1 CD. And I think that would really show, because you were saying, what are we going to see to say that they're hitting the targets? It's novel, but believe me, people will be very happy.
In a free market, the sort of capitalist economy we've sort of undertaken, I don't know, it would be next to impossible with private.
It will be well received.
Go to I don't want to mention, but the Yahoo stretch and go and ask for a ball of Kenke. You'll find out how much it is.
Coming on the tariffs issue, AGUA has been in existence for a very long time. What have we really done about it? How have we achieved the purpose of the AGUA, where companies have now grown into multimillionaires and everything? It seems that when you have all the resources at your disposal, we become more or less lazy in transforming our resources into finished products and putting it on the market. This is the time with all these things going on. Africa, Ghana, and our continent would have to show pragmatic ways in which we are going to transform this country and make sure that now the European, the Asians, the Americans will be more dependent on us than we being dependent on them. China has done it, and look at China now. Today it's a superpower or super force. Why can't we do it? They are human.
We have all the natural resources and we have the human resource
to do that.
I'll re-echo what just 2 days ago the African Development Bank president, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, was saying. He delivered a convocation lecture at the National Open University of Nigeria. Okay. And succinctly, he says the era of aid or free money is gone.
Yeah.
Africa must overhaul its approach towards achieving fast-paced development. I don't know how many times this has to be said. I've heard The likes
if
of,
you have to say
what's
100
the
times, let's say
Sudanese
it to them.
British billionaire's name? Mo Ibrahim.
Mo Ibrahim,
has said
okay.
it in the past. I've heard different, people, PLO, Lumumba, but I guess I don't know for Africa.
Yesterday, for example, I was just a quick one on the cocoa board.
We have just about 2.5 minutes to bite.
On cocoa board, I asked that we've been borrowing for years, more than 10, 15 years. Every year, $3 billion. We couldn't even put something aside to say that in the next 5 years, we are not going to borrow.
And
we're going to use our own funding.
Idea of a syndicated loan was supposed to be a stopgap measure.
A stopgap measure. Now it's become a permanent and luxurious thing.
On after, I'm never very excited about some of the things we do in Africa. Every time we talk about the regional bloc. Because look, since 2009 or 2010, we've been talking about the convergence criteria. For only West African countries to have one currency, and it's been forever.
The eco.
It's been forever. So sometimes when I hear about this, African regional bloc thing, it's all about meetings. I was in Aflao, for the last 1 week, and then I got my sister and brother to go buy me something from Togo, just a couple of, whatever, and you should see the harassment. So we are not even willing to do the internal thing. Ghana is not taking responsibility for itself. Togo is not taking responsibility for itself. And we're busy talking about convergence. We're talking about a regional grouping and all that. So that's where our problem is. Do your job as a country. Let me do mine as a country. And then it becomes easy to unite at a certain level. But when somebody is in coup, some wars here, somebody is struggling with giving electricity and water, another person is struggling with, feeding his own people. And then you're talking about global trade, you can't even feed your own citizens.
Thank you, Wanda. I will not take reactions to the story I'm about to do now. We'll wrap it from there. Raymond Abiu says, you don't wait until you're about to leave office to start promoting and recruiting people into positions. This type of conduct must be discouraged by all right-thinking Ghanaians. This can be a trap for incoming administrations. We all remember what Kufuor did with the single spine salary structure that boxed in the Atta Mills government. We can also recall other instances from the different governments. Can we stop it? That's just the bit. GRA exceeds first quarter tax revenue target as it collects 41 billion Ghana cedis. Yay! But then so much more work to be done. What I'll leave you with, Airtel Tigo debts, government negotiating haircut, cash payment reduced to $10 million. So they've negotiated a reduction from $400 million to $200 million. However, the company continues to face financial challenges with monthly operating losses amounting to $20 million. And there's a question about why government went ahead, the past government, to acquire AT. You can catch the story on page 3 of the Economy Times newspaper. Those who joined us for a conversation, Amanda Akwoko Clinton, head of Chambers Clinton Consultancy, Alfred Thompson, NPP Communications Directorate member, and Wanda Madilo, also with the NDC's communications team. But before we go for sports, let's talk water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the Achichidie tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong, durable, and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. So rain or shine, Syntex tank has your back. So my people, go outside, check your tank. If it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to scale up, upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today. Enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. You can call 0244 335 168 to buy now or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Well, that's how we cap off the news review this morning. And remember, Syntex Tank, air strong, air tough. This show proudly sponsored by Whaley Properties. We'll be back with sports in a bit.